If you guys like audiobooks or audio shows, you should check out a free trial of Audible. Just check the link in the description. Maxwell, you use Audible, right?
Of course, all the time. Listen to it every time.
I just listen to books.
Welcome to the Mindshock podcast.
We're gonna shock your
True
mind.
Crime. This is the Springfield 3 Part 2.
Part 2.
And who are you?
I am, of course, your host, Bruce McGuire.
I'm Rip Davis.
And Maxwell Powers.
And we went over the Springfield 3 quick overview again. Very mysterious case. Saturday, June 6, 1992, graduation day, Kickapoo High School. You know who else went to Kickapoo High School?
Yeah, Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt actually went there just a couple years before.
He called me the other day.
When is he coming on the podcast?
We can try to get him on.
Get him on.
Did you hear like Jennifer Aniston now agrees to have children? Like now. All right. Anyway,
We'll get her on too. All right.
I don't know her.
Okay. So, super mysterious case because 3 people go missing from Sherrill Streeter's house. The other victim, her daughter, Suzy, and their friend, Stacy McCall. So Maxwell's on the ball with this case.
Yes. He's
Hell
got it-
yeah.
he's got it
So
covered.
the 3 of them, so the timeline, there's so many problems with this case because the house was contaminated by 18 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we have serial killers in this case. We have shady police in this case. There's a lot of weirdness in this case.
Almost sounds like the Maura Murray case.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So for this episode, we are going to put together the most accurate and well-constructed timeline of that night, factoring in all the sightings, some of which have fallen by the wayside and most people don't know about, in an attempt to find out what likely happened. Now, I mentioned this in the first episode. I find their friend Janelle Kirby very, very shady.
Why is that?
Well, because she controls the timeline. Supposedly, she was the last person that saw them at 2:20 a.m. And then the next morning, nobody has seen them.
No one has seen them. Go ahead.
No
I
one,
thought
no,
you were- I
and
thought
she
you were
was
trying
the
to finish
first.
it.
And I was just pointing to Maxwell because he was
Oh.
laughing like a psychotic.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Or as a psychotic, depending.
Like a psychotic.
Well, is he a psychotic or is he just laughing like a psychotic?
Isn't everybody?
I was trying to be silent so you can talk.
Yeah, I know. We thought you
All
were
right.
talking.
Yeah, I was talking.
Okay.
At the house, she shows up there with her boyfriend, and they basically give the whole timeline. So we have to trust their word on the last time we see them and what time they're missing from the house. That's not problematic for you guys?
No, the whole case is problematic for us.
I know, but-
it's-
So the friends, I think the number one people that need to be looked at are the friends. I mean, yes, the serial killer, the killer guy in the prison is bizarre.
the friends
Cox.
like Kate.
Problem.
Sorry.
So what? They give you a timeline of when they.
What
when
if they're
last saw it.
lying?
Yeah, but they're probably not lying. They probably just forgot. Like they're
And
not
they
paying
just happen
attention
to clean up. They just happen. Well, okay.
Yeah, that whole claim.
Let's-
That yeah,
hold
that,
on.
No, that's
Maxwell,
messed up.
they didn't forget. At 2:20, so she gets up at like 7. They have almost no sleep. She's immediately calling their house. If they're not supposed to meet up until noon or whatever the plan was, why is she frantically calling their house unless she's trying to make herself appear innocent? Which makes her look even more guilty. But we're going to go over all that in the timeline. So we never went over the exact timeline in the first episode.
No.
So I'm going to do that now. And there's quite a few interesting characters that we did not mention. There were several parties they went to that night. Here is a map of all of the, you could see how close a lot of these things are to each other. So Brian Joy lived around the corner from Janelle Kirby. So they're meeting at Janelle Kirby's house. They went to Joy's house. Then they went to Michelle Elder's house, another classmate, who didn't even live that far away from the Levitt Streeter home. And the Levitt Streeter home is right next to Missouri State University, where the high school graduation was held. So what we didn't talk about, it is possible some psycho killer could have seen them at the graduation and followed Suzy home.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about a few blocks here.
Yeah.
And then this is the hospital, coincidentally named South Cox Hospital. And then the police spokeswoman is also Cox. And then the killer is also Cox. None of them are related to each other.
Supposedly.
In any way. Yes.
What do you mean the killer is Cox? What do you mean?
The killer that we talked about in the first
the
episode.
other, got it. The other killer, that's not, like, because I was, like, yeah, never mind. No, because I thought he was referring to Ashley.
Okay. So, and then of course, did we talk about the dog Cinnamon? Their dog was in the house.
I thought you had mentioned it.
Yeah.
Because then we had the...
So what about the dog?
So let's go through the full timeline.
Okay.
6 p.m. The graduation ceremony ended. 7:30. So then they all go home to their respective houses. 7:30 p.m. A friend of Suzy's drops off a graduation cake for her. Suzy doesn't go out to eat. She has a pizza dinner with Sherrill at their house. Okay. Now, there's a few problematic things even with the basics of Janelle Kirby's house. Some accounts place Suzy there first, some Stacy. But apparently, from most of the accounts, Suzy arrives first at Janelle Kirby's house at 8:30 p.m. Stacy arrives several minutes later. Now, Mike Henson apparently is also there. Mike Henson is Janelle Kirby's boyfriend. You getting all this, Maxwell?
Janelle Kirby's boyfriend.
Yes. So...
We're going to have to just keep referring back to you. 'Cause I'm going to get confused.
Okay, so they walk over to Brian Joy's house, whose parents are out of town for the night, right around the corner. Okay?
Yeah, keep pointing at the map this way I can...
So,
Yeah.
that's the Levitt Streeter home.
Okay.
So they drive over, whatever, get to here. Stacy lives somewhere around here. Okay. So they go to Janelle Kirby's house. They walk around the corner to Brian Joy's house with Mike Henson. Okay. This is at 8:30 p.m. They ask him if they can spend the night there. He says yes because his parents are out of town for the night. Critical information here. I don't think we went over this or very briefly in the first episode. Okay. 9:30 p.m. Sherrill Levitt at the Levitt house, she speaks to someone on the phone, a friend, at 9:30. Now, that night, I'm not sure how many details we went over in the first episode, she was, like, refinishing furniture, so there was a strong smell in the house, which the first police officer on scene actually mentioned.
Okay.
10 p.m., a dog, probably Cinnamon, showed up at a neighbor's house at 10 p.m.
So if someone went into the house, they could have let him out. But the people who live in the house would not have let their own dog out.
Right.
We don't know because here's the thing:
Cinnamon.
if she's finishing furniture and that smell is really strong, she might have let the dog out. We don't know. But this is 10 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, but just to run free, wouldn't she have taken him out and like tied him out?
I don't know. 3 a.m. and she was also spotted at 3 a.m. Same neighbor's yard. Neighbors were in the backyard when she appeared at 10, and she wanted to sit in people's laps. She was picked up and put over the fence back into the Streeter property. Okay. Now here is a sighting that kind of fell. Nobody talks about this sighting anymore. Between 10 and 10:30 p.m., Steve Thompson, a 24-year-old night clerk at APCO A Mart, which is 4140 South Fremont Avenue, saw Streeter and McCall come in. They bought a few items and left in separate cars, Thompson said. Because we were speculating before, did they spend all the party time together? Maybe they didn't. Because one of the theories is the whole scene when everybody showed up in the morning was staged. Her car was in the wrong spot.
Okay, yeah.
The other, what we didn't get into is the reason that Suzy's car could have been in the wrong spot because there was another car there. So she couldn't park in her usual spot. Who did that car belong to? We don't know. So if she had gotten there's somebody else already there, something happened. It wasn't necessarily they all went to sleep and then something happened later. Something could have happened right as they arrived. We don't know. Or it couldn't have been, maybe it wasn't them that went. If something happened to them elsewhere, somebody else moved their cars there to stage the whole scene. Like their purses were all arranged as if staged. So anyway.
And if somebody moved her car, they might not know that she always parks in a specific spot.
Correct.
They could have put it back wrong.
Yes.
All right.
So he said they bought a few items and left in separate cars, Thompson said. He said McCall was in a brown or dark gold car like a Monte Carlo, an older model Cutlass or Grand Prix. Several of McCall's friends said they don't recognize this car's description. They were with a man in his early 30s, dark, stringy, thin hair, and a mustache. He popped his head in the door and told the woman he'd forgotten to buy cigarettes, Thompson said. On Thursday, he told the news leader he vaguely remembered the two girls talking in the A-Mart about meeting later that night. Streeter and another girl she was with drove south on Fremont Avenue, he said. McCall and her companion drove north in the brown car. So they did not leave together. They were with separate people. Okay, 10:30 p.m. Stacy calls her mother and tells her they are not driving to Branson Hotel and are sleeping at Janelle Kirby's house. Once again, quick recap. They were supposed to be going to Branson to the water park the next day, and they wanted to sleep at the hotel or motel that night. But their parents didn't want to because they thought they'd be drinking. So they were relieved when they were staying. And this is the third plan change because they originally were possibly considering doing the lock-in at the school, the alcohol-free graduation lock-in. They decided against that.
Yeah, and then everybody disappears.
11:15 p.m., Sherrill Levitt speaks to a friend on the phone. Okay. 11:30 p.m., we're back here. Brian Joy's house. By the way, the Steve Thompson APCO Mart sighting is disputed. The police said that he seemed like he knew his customers and they have no reason to believe he's lying. Other people say that for whatever reason he was mistaken. Anyway, moving on. So 11:30 p.m. from Brian Joy's house, people leave for a spur of the moment party at Michelle Elder's house. So this is between 8 and 9.5 miles, 10 to 20 minutes from Joy to Elder, the drive, depending on which route they take. They can take that way or this way. So this is less than 1 mile from the APCO Mart. Okay. So Michelle Elder said Streeter and McCall were in good moods. Nothing was wrong. Everything was just perfect. Now, that seems a little bit strange to say, unless someone told her to say, make sure that nobody knows something was wrong and that nothing happened here. Because if the friends did something to them or something happened at any point, they didn't want to say, oh, she was talking to so-and-so and she seemed upset. Yeah. So they would have a big cover story.
That's like something you say when you're trying to make people think there wasn't shady shit.
Yes.
Everything was fine. Everything was fine.
And you know what's interesting is that other friends had said...
Well, it depends if they're suspicious, though. Like, if a cop is suspicious, like, then you would say that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like if a, you know what I mean? If a cop casually, and without suspecting do you know what I mean? Like, but if a cop is like, suspecting these motherfuckers, like, you know what I mean? Then
that's
be like,
leading the
everything's
witness.
perfect.
But that's leading the witness. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. If they're leading you, you would say, oh, everything was fine.
So critical point here. As far back as the graduation, Suzy's friends said that she was extremely apprehensive at graduation and the entire night through the parties, and she said her stomach hurt. And she wanted someone to spend the night with her at her house.
Wait, how do you know that? How do you know that?
Because her friend said it.
Who's this friend?
I don't know. They weren't named in the newspaper articles.
No, all right, wait. All right. She was apprehensive and her stomach hurt, and someone wanted her to stay. Now,
no. She was asking if anybody wanted to stay at her
stay
house.
with her. What was the last? Could someone have slipped or something? What was the? They don't.
Well, here's the thing. So, just quick backstory. Her ex-boyfriend was friends with the grave robbers.
Oh, jeez.
The grave robbers that stole the skulls with the gold fillings and sold them at a pawn shop.
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Yeah, so she made a statement against them, and she was supposed to testify.
Yeah.
She wasn't paranoid until this day.
Yeah.
There was another message on the machine that was erased. Are these guys leaving messages trying to intimidate her and her mother? Apparently her mother had something to do with the statement too, or told
But
her
I'm saying she was apprehensive that day.
Right.
Like
maybe she was threatened.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And they said something, so she was scared and she didn't want to be alone at her house.
That's crazy.
So that's all needs to be factored in. Now, how many people were friends with her friends of her ex-boyfriend and the grave robbers? Just saying.
It's just so funny to hear it talk. You're like, oh, grave robber.
I know, it sounds like a joke, like a film title.
Yeah, I know.
The Grave Robbers. It's just funny.
Okay, so 1:15 a.m., 3 blocks from the Levitt home, 2 dogs sniffed the air and began to growl. Their owner was home alone at the time. She is a sales representative at Springfield Broadcast Company. The news leader is not giving her name to protect her. She looked out her kitchen window and saw a man peeping in her neighbor's window.
Ah, shit.
All I could tell was he was tall, thin, and had a ball cap on. She flipped on her kitchen lights. He turned around and just walked away real fast, she said. She did not hear a car. She phoned her neighbors, who searched their yard but found nothing. No one called the police. The next day, her neighbor, a Springfield lawyer, found several broken plants under the window and a pocket knife.
Well, shit, he was trying to get in.
By June 9th, news about the disappearance had splashed over Springfield. The woman who spotted the prowler called the police. The lawyer flagged down a police car in the neighborhood and gave the knife to the officers. Glenn, the police spokesperson, said Thursday evening he did not know about the peeping Tom.
You know what happens when you get the knife to police officers? It disappears.
Okay, so 1:30 a.m., elder party. The police show up and break up the party.
Okay.
The neighbor watched through his window. The police were saying, look, you got a bunch of minors here. You're blocking the street, that type of thing, he said. There were beer cans all up and down the street in her yard and all of her neighbors' yards. And the police told them to pick up all the cans and go home.
Oh, jeez.
So, between 1:50 and 2 a.m., their classmate and friend, Shane Appleby, drives Suzy and Stacy back to Brian Joy's house in his Jeep. So 1:30 a.m. is when the police were called because there were 50 to 100 people in the party. 1:50 a.m. the police showed up and sent everybody home. So between 1:50 and 2 a.m., Shane Appleby drives them back to Brian Joy's house. They both seemed happy, Shane said. Suzy was sick. She had a little stomach ache. She just wanted to go home, he said. Okay. Apparently, Janelle Kirby was in another car as several went back to Joy's house. Joy then changed his mind about having Suzy and Stacy sleep there because he was afraid his parents would come back and too many people would be staying there. Here's the weird thing. Someone theorized, I've seen this theory, did he know that some shady people were now staying there and he wanted to protect them? And didn't let them stay there.
Wait, at his place?
Right. Like, let's say over the course of the night, when the party there, more people came and they wanted to stay there and they were kind of shady or drug dealers, whatever. He didn't want the girls also staying there. That's why he said yes before and then made up something about his parents. He changed something after. Right. It could have been to protect them.
All right, so initially his parents weren't going to be home, so he said, sure, you can stay.
And then after, once they came back at 2 a.m.
He's like, oh, yeah, maybe you shouldn't stay here because there's going to be a problem.
Well, he said he's afraid his parents would come up. Which nothing changed when they went to the other party.
Yeah.
A couple of carloads of their classmates, including Janelle Kirby, then arrive at Brian Joy's house. Joy told them he couldn't stay. What Joy said after the fact, he said, when I saw how many there were, I said they better not in case my mom came home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people.
Yeah. Between 2 and 2:20 a.m., Shane Appleby drives the girls back to their car at Janelle Kirby's house, really close by to Brian Joy's. Okay. 2:20 a.m., with so many relatives staying at Janelle's, Suzy asked Stacy to stay at her place instead of the pallets on the floor they would have had to sleep on if they stayed at Kirby's house. Kathy Kirby woke up when she heard Janelle Kirby come in the house. She heard Streeter tell McCall, follow me to my house, and heard McCall say, okay, I will. Then she heard them drive away. Now, here's the other crazy theory. If Janelle's mother, Kathy Kirby, if she knows her daughter was somehow involved in something shady, what's to stop her from making that up right there?
Well,
just saying.
Yeah,
just saying. That's why it's, and these are the first people that show up the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, whenever someone's completely controlling the narrative, you got to stop and think, if they can't be trusted.
Yeah, but nobody can ever be trusted.
I know, that's the problem. All right, ready to get crazy?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yep.
So, remember, supposedly Sherrill Levitt is at home and at 11:15 is when she speaks to her friend on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last known communication before she goes missing. Unless you believe Steve Thompson at the APCO Mart, who says Sherrill Levitt came in at 2:15 a.m. and asked him if he had seen her daughter and two friends.
Oh, shit.
She seemed nervous, he said. He told her no, and she left. Levitt's friends are baffled. For her to be out at 2 a.m, just whistling in the wind or whatever.
Looking for somebody.
That's
Looking
just nuts, said Mary Keller, a close friend of Levitt's for several years.
Unless she knows that somebody's coming for her. Like, there's a problem.
The only way she would go out like that is if someone called her and said Suzy needed her. Suzy was sick. No one can explain why Levitt wouldn't have called the Kirbys. I only have like 10 customers a night in there, Thompson said Thursday. I made good eye contact with Suzy. That's why I remember her. He thinks she came in with McCall, who was the passenger in an older model, dark gold or brown Cutlass or Grand Prix. Pretty sure is the right phrase, Glenn said. Captain Tony Glenn said Thursday. But you're dealing with a person who knows his customers. Steve Thompson, a 24-year-old night clerk at the APCO Mart. Police Captain Tony Glenn said the store clerk, Steve Thompson, is certain of his information. Everything he has told that can be verified has been verified, Glenn said. The woman seemed to be in a hurry, perhaps a bit upset. She was looking for Suzy Streeter and two of Streeter's girlfriends. It was 2:15 a.m. It was the last reported sighting of Sherrill Levitt. The same clerk 2 days into the disappearance saw a poster for the missing women. Sherrill Levitt's picture was like being face to face with the woman who poked her head in the door at 2:15 a.m. June 7th, he said. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the problem. The woman across the street said it wasn't Sherrill. She saw the woman that went in, and the hair length was different. So because of this one witness, this entire sighting at the APCO Mart of both Suzy, Stacy, and Sherrill was thrown out and never mentioned again anywhere.
Wait, because of that
woman who said it wasn't her.
Yeah, because the hair length.
Here's what I think.
People are considering her statement more reliable than the store.
Right.
Person.
The only place you can find even records of these sightings at the APCO Mart are in the original news reports from like the first week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I postulate if the police were involved or some kind of powerful gang, which we'll get to because there was one in the area, if they paid or intimidated that witness. Oh man. Actually,
there
are DWVs.
Oh shit! Are they coming up?
Well, we mentioned it in the first one.
But again, hold on. I just have to say, like, when you look across the street at that distance, unless someone has unusually short or unusually long hair, like hair past your ass or bald, I don't know if you're gonna be.
And here's the hair salon where Sherrill worked.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not far.
But like, think about it. Like, if we look over there, like, you know, someone who walks by, if their hair is just normal, like, there's no way that the lady's going to be like, oh, her hair wasn't the right length.
I just find it strange that it completely disappeared. Like, it's not even mentioned as there was a reported and disputed sighting. It completely disappeared. And we're about to get even crazier.
Well, all right, but hold on. But why would they? All right, or do you suspect the police? Like, would they change the narrative? Are they just looking for a reason? Hold on. So she goes, oh, the hair was the wrong length. And they're like, oh, good, we can drop this. And just never mention it again? Like, are they looking for a reason not to include it? And then if they get in trouble later, they're like, oh, well, we had an eyewitness who said it.
We'll get into coincidences later about police officers researching disappearance.
Yeah.
Guess who broke up that party?
Oh, no. Cecil. No, my God.
Okay, we'll get to the police later because there's a lot of shady stuff with the police. Mm-hmm. But, okay, so Get and Go.
What are these names?
I know.
A-Mart,
so
Get
weird.
and Go. And...
Levitt's between 2:30 and 2:35 a.m. So keep in mind, they're leaving Kirby's house 2:20 a.m. roughly. Mm-hmm. Now, between 2:30 and 2:35 a.m. at the Get and Go, Levitt's eclipse is seen. Okay, police are checking into reports that Levitt may have been seen at the Get and Go, located only a few blocks east of the APCO. A customer told Thompson...
What is a Get and Go? Is it an alcohol store? Like, you get it and then you go?
Yeah.
Like, what, like, you go get some whiskey and you go?
Is it like a 7-Eleven or
7-Eleven with a gas station, maybe?
Well, isn't A-Mart...
I think A-Mart was more of like a little convenience store, and the Get and Go, I think, was a gas station 7-Eleven, tiny little version with a payphone, and there might not have been a payphone at, I don't know.
Look that shit up.
A customer told Thompson he was at the A-Mart when the woman who looked like Levitt appeared there. Between 15 and 20 minutes later, the customer said he saw a Mitsubishi that looked like Levitt's parked near a payphone at the Get and Go.
Okay.
That customer had not come forward to the police as of Thursday afternoon, Glenn said, but police checked out another report that the Eclipse had been at the Get and Go before Levitt stopped at the A-Mart.
Okay.
Okay. Between 1, again, now this is between 1 and 3 a.m. Get this. You guys ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, this sighting has been mentioned before, but it's disputed as well.
By the way, it's a convenience store. I just looked it up.
Yep. George's Steakhouse. So this is less than 1 mile north of the Levitt Streeter home. Between 1 and 3 a.m. So we don't have an exact time. Keep in mind, 2:20 is when they left Kirby's.
2:20 is sometime in between 1 and 3 a.m.
Yes. But if they say it's 1 a.m., it couldn't have been them if they were there at 2:20. But if Janelle and her mom are lying, and then Shane Appleby would also have to be lying. And her boyfriend, Mike, they would all have to be lying and in on it, which we will see. So, between 1 and 3 a.m. at George's Steakhouse, a waitress says she saw all three women.
Oh, my God.
She said she is positive it was Suzy Streeter because she was so rude.
Wow.
The women arrived and left together. The waitress said Suzy appeared giddy, perhaps intoxicated, and her mom tried to calm her down. However, other customers and employees said they didn't see them, and that Sherrill had been there, but it was a few months prior.
Wow.
The waitress said Streeter and Levitt were regular customers. They were with 3 clean-cut young men. The sighting was...
Clean-cut.
Yeah, clean-cut young men. But the sighting was possibly as late as 4 a.m., so the waitress could not really remember. So it could have been between 1 and 4 a.m.
Oh, jeez.
Now, keep in mind, or 6:30 a.m. is the green van sighting, which I have more information on.
Green van?
Yep.
Why is there always a colored vehicle in these stories?
3 a.m., Levitt's neighbor's dog barked from inside and woke them up. Cinnamon was at the back door. Okay, so the neighbor then put the dog out in the front. Okay, so now we're in the morning of Sunday, June 7th, 1992. There was another sighting. A yard sale lady. So nobody wants to reveal their names. These people, I don't know. Okay, at the intersection of Grand and Kentwood. So this is right next to their house. Mm-hmm. You see the yellow? It's right next to their house. Mm-hmm. That's the yard sale lady sighting.
Oh, my God.
Okay. At 3 a.m., she had been helping a friend get ready for a yard or garage sale at 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whoever was driving basically ran her off the road, which is why she remembered the incident. She said she did get a good look at the driver of the van. She didn't mention anything about hearing a voice from the back seat, and it was not a female driving. So this conflicts with the green van sighting. Okay. So this is secondhand. So she spoke to someone, and this someone is reporting this. Take it as you will. So these sightings are all kind of non-concrete, but we'll see if they add up. She said, well, the night the women were abducted, about 3 a.m.-ish, I was heading home after helping a friend set up her yard sale for the next morning. As I passed by the little street that connects the Streeters Street with Grant Street, the van blew through the stop sign and cut me off. I think this is also a green van. He actually ran me off the road. He came within a few feet of me, looking me dead in the eye in the most hateful way. My daughter was sleeping in the back and flew off the seat, slamming into the back of my seat. I had to stop my van and climb in the back to help her. She was crying and disoriented, but okay. Unbeknownst to me, she had taken off her seatbelt to lay down. A day or two later, I saw the abduction on the news and went right down to the police department to talk to detectives and describe the van and man I saw. I had a pretty good look at him since he got to within feet of me when he ran me off the road. She also claimed to be the one who gave the description for the sketch artist. And this sighting was between 3 and 4:30 a.m. Okay, now we're going to get to more weird sightings. 4 a.m., the Aunt Betty sighting.
Oh my God.
So this is Clay Street in North Springfield. Somewhere there.
Yeah.
Aunt Betty?
So this is 4 a.m. So 2 homes directly facing hers. One, a rental occupied by someone she said was in the military, and the other she thought someone elderly owned, were known as party houses. And she supposed that these 3 women and 2 men that she saw in a large vehicle were at some after-hours party. It was approximately 4 a.m., and my aunt positioned herself in a chair in the front window long enough to make a mental note of the 3 women, since the men were obscured in the darkness and dressed in dark clothing. When the pictures of the 3 women appeared in the news, she knew where she had seen them. She called the police. Now, this sighting is really weird because this is in a book written about disappearances in that area. Mm-hmm. And this is the author's aunt, coincidentally.
All right.
And so this is the book Missing or Murdered in Missouri, Unsolved and Solved Cases, written by Barbara Kem Hyten. So if this is a valid sighting, this would have changed the timeline. But she described who they were with. And I'm going to get back to that later. First, let me finish the timeline just so we don't get too crazy. There was another sighting, 4:30 a.m., a paper carrier. She came forward immediately and reported the van she witnessed parked on South Kentwood at about 4:30 a.m. Actually, that would be right there. Mm-hmm. She drove the same route, delivering newspapers every morning. She worked and would certainly notice that things were out of the ordinary, among other things. I think these are all green vans, by the way.
Oh my God. Like red trucks?
Yes. Now, 6:30 a.m. is the famous green van sighting. The porch lady.
Wait, what time was it? What time?
6:30 a.m. This is the one we discussed. This is the famous one. Mm-hmm. A woman who was on her front porch, so it's east. Mm-hmm. And remember, the van turned around because you can't get on the highway there, so she'd have to turn around and go there.
Okay.
A woman who was on her front porch in Springfield the morning the woman disappeared has reported seeing a blonde woman identified as Streeter driving a van. The woman told authorities Streeter drove a van into a next-door driveway and stopped as if lost about 6:30 a.m. that day. Streeter appeared to be crying and had a birthmark on her face. Again, she always covered it up with makeup. Mm-hmm. So this is a critical detail. Because she does have a birthmark on the right side of the chin, and you cannot see it on the missing poster. Because the missing poster was a picture, just one of the regular pictures where it was covered. So that's pretty interesting. So she could see it as the van was stopped. The woman on her porch reported hearing a male voice say, "Now back up and don't do anything stupid." The silvery green van, an older model Dodge van, was sighted 15 blocks east of the Streeter home. Now here's the thing. What's not reported about this sighting? Mm-hmm. This sighting, apparently, the porch lady only knew this under hypnosis.
Oh, what the?
Yes, they used a hypnotist to get this
programmed. No, I'm just kidding.
But how'd she know about the birthmark? See, the birthmark info isn't very well known.
Wait, so the birthmark was only revealed through the under hypnosis?
The whole thing was only revealed. She didn't even know she had seen the van. I don't know what prompted for her to get hypnosis. Unless she thought maybe I saw something, but I can't really remember. Unless that's what it was. But
yeah, but I mean, like,
so part of this remembering is the freaking birthmark. That
yes,
that's
which
always
is
covered with
right, that nobody knows about.
So,
So you can't
really
write
weird.
off. You can't write off the hypnosis completely, and it also logically makes sense because if whoever abducted them was just go, 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 they're going the wrong way. They would need to turn around. So it's not like she just saw them go by.
Yeah.
If that happened, it makes sense.
So why do you think? Let's say it's not a. Well, why do you think the birthmark was revealed? She was grabbed there, or like she was arrested?
No, because apparently, if they went home to go to sleep, there were tissues with makeup on them in the house. Remember?
Yeah, they take their makeup off.
They took their makeup off to go to sleep. So if she was awakened afterwards, she wouldn't have a chance to put her makeup on.
Yeah, because like normally, if she got up normally, she'd put it on and hide it. But so something happened to break her routine. And if she's so self-conscious of the birthmark, it has to be serious for her not to,
and
like,
also,
just put something on and run out.
And also, because this was under hypnosis, most people discount this sighting.
But you're saying that without the hypnosis, she would not have remembered this because she said she doesn't remember.
All of this was under hypnosis. All the details she provided were under hypnosis. All of it. The whole sighting.
Yeah, but we need to find out who suggested hypnosis and why.
Because
we really need to because
that's messed up.
Okay, so now changing times. So the other thing about Janelle Kirby, she changed her story multiple times with the timelines.
Because you want to know something. If you want to cover something up and you can get someone to agree, I think you should go under so that you can remember, and then you program them to say what you want them to say.
So if someone, well, no, that's true. So it would have to be someone who knew she had a birthmark. But why would they do that? Unless the van went the other way. But why even bother with the whole scenario? Because there's so much mystery and nobody knows what happened. Why would you add even a false clue?
Just because what if someone was getting close and it's just a red herring?
But nobody was getting close. They're clueless.
Yeah, but nobody knows. You know, I mean, think about it. If someone clueless is getting close, and then someone smart's like, "Well, I better throw them off," and then we're sitting here trying to figure out why someone would throw them off because no one would know that they were getting close.
All right. So Janelle's timeline changed, but somewhere between 7:30. Sometimes she says it's 7:30. Sometimes she says it's 8:30. Janelle said she called the Streeter house many times and didn't get an answer. Now, if she just saw them at 2:20, so this is about 5 hours. Okay, now these are high schoolers, but if they're that drunk and hungover, are they going to be getting up to go to the water park that early? Unless they didn't go to sleep at all because they're so upset over something that happened. So at between 10:30 and 11 a.m., Janice McCall, Stacy's mother, calls the Kirby house. And Janelle Kirby's sister tells her that Stacy and Suzy are not there and didn't stay there. Because as far as Stacy's mom knows, they're staying at Janelle's. Because they wouldn't say they were staying at a boy's house, Brian Joyce. So at 12:30 p.m., Janelle Kirby and her boyfriend Mike Henson arrive at the house, sweep up the glass, and clean up. Then they leave. Now here's what else is weird. When they leave between 1 and 2:30 p.m., they go around the neighborhood looking for them. They visit a sub shop, and they also visit Shane Appleby's house, the guy that was at all these parties, and he actually drove Stacy and Suzy from the Elder party to the Brian Joy party. He's still in bed and said he hadn't seen them. I don't know why they would go there unless
they suspect
they left with him. And something else was unknown. But anyway, 3:30 p.m., Janelle is at the house again, and this is when she received the 2 lewd phone calls. Okay. And then somewhere around 8 p.m. is when Janice McCall arrives with a whole bunch of other people. So, contaminated by 18 plus people. At 10 p.m., the police arrive. Janelle is also there with wet shorts. So,
like a water park?
Yes. So,
pants or something.
now there's 2... I think there's 2 water parks, like one there, one there. So there's 2 water parks that they could have gone to. If your friend is missing, you're frantically searching. There's apparently she was in the backseat crying when they left the house and her boyfriend had to console her. Then they're going to go look around, then come back to the house, receive 2 lewd phone calls, then go to a water park. Some people say, now again, these are fringe theories now, Janelle and other people, if they killed them, they were putting their bodies in water. There was a rumor one of the families had a well. Also, at one of the water parks or some kind of lake, they could have dumped the bodies there. fringe theories for sure. We'll get into those possibilities later. But this is the most complete timeline ever assembled.
What if they just pour water on themselves so that people think that they were at the water park? Because that was
going
to
the water park is so suspicious, though, because when your friends are missing and you're that upset.
All of this is suspicious.
So, yeah, exactly. So this is the most complete timeline.
Makes sense. Yep.
This is pretty much every single reported sighting, theoretical and otherwise. Now, let's go to the Aunt Betty sighting before we discuss this whole thing. Aunt Betty, I think, is also a psychic.
Oh, my God.
So this is from the book. In a strange connection to this case, while visiting my ailing and only living aunt, she told me she tried to give the police a tip on the night of the woman's disappearance. What a coincidence that the author of this book on missing persons happens to have an aunt in the area. That's not a coincidence, but who had seen them. But if it's true, it's true. You know, what are you going to do? My Aunt Betty lived on Clay Street in North Springfield at the time and was in her late 60s. Always observant, especially in a neighborhood that she had watched deteriorate over many years. She swore she saw these missing women in a driveway across the street from her house. 2 homes directly facing hers, one a rental property occupied by someone she said was in the military, and the other she thought someone elderly owned, were known party houses, and she supposed that these 3 women and 2 men that she saw in a large vehicle were at some after-hours party. She doesn't mention the green van, though. She just called it a large vehicle. I guess it was too dark. It was approximately 4 a.m. and my aunt positioned herself in a chair in the front window long enough to make a mental note of the 3 women, since the men were obscured in darkness and dressed in dark clothing. When the pictures of the 3 women appeared in the news, she knew where she had seen them. She called police and waited for them to come. When my aunt was in her 80s, frail and suffering from Parkinson's disease, a cold case detective finally came to interview her.
Oh my God.
So it took 20 years. They work slow in Springfield.
Oh my God.
She says she walked around the one house that had been empty for years, but she had no idea what had become of the investigation. I made a promise to try to talk to the police about her witness report when my Aunt Betty died in April of 2005. My aunt's house went up for sale, and the vacant property where she may have seen the 3 abducted women still stands facing her old home as it did in 1992. The weathered gray house remains shabby, and the paint is chipped and peeling. It is still plagued by years of untamed weeds in the yard. In the past few months, curtains have appeared in the windows. For my part, I persisted in providing someone with this information, and the Missouri Highway Patrol's door clicked slightly open. I was able to give my Aunt Betty's tip to a patrolman. His response to this case was positive and firm.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but oh my God, 20 years? Like if it's not within the first 48 hours.
Why 20 years?
It doesn't say why. That's just what the author wrote in her book. 20 years that the cold case detective finally came to see her and take her report. So she called 20 years later. Someone showed up.
Oh my God.
Unless someone also showed up at the time immediately after, and then also again on a follow-up.
Well maybe they didn't.
Because usually at the anniversaries they do sometimes with renewed interest for the anniversary they do extra. So I believe this Aunt Betty was also a psychic. So this was what the writer wrote about her, the author who happened to be writing that book, whatever. So we don't really know what law enforcement knows, and we'll get into problems with the law enforcement later, because maybe they did interview her. Maybe she did give them very good descriptions of a vehicle and the 3 men. Maybe they are convinced that really did happen, but we don't know. And then, of course, the time frames. Some of these sightings almost disqualify other sightings. So it's almost like you have to pick which it was. But with the sighting at George's Steakhouse, since that's a huge range, it's rough. And then what do we think about the dog sighting? Did the dog run out when something happened? But then it was found locked into the bathroom, allegedly, because we have to take Janelle Kirby's word.
Well, let me ask you a question.
The one that got hypnotized. Which one is
Janelle Kirby's the friend.
Now the dog, did you say that? Was there 2? Was the second time they took the dog and put him over the fence because he kept wanting to sit on somebody's lap?
That was 10 p.m.
And did you say that there were 2 dog sightings? He was out twice?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Cinnamon was twice.
Yeah.
And so...
And they put him over the fence the first time or the second time?
I believe both, either the first time and then the second time, I guess they put the dog in front. It just says in front somewhere, okay, but whatever. Right. And I think there was a doggy door in the back, possibly. Mm-hmm. I couldn't find corroboration 100%, but I believe there might have been a doggy door. So if the dog ran out at 3 a.m., and something happened at 2:20. So that means the dog ran out. How did the dog get locked back in the bathroom?
It's so hard because my God. Because
I mean, it's this is the complete timeline. So we either believe if we believe Steve Thompson, that changes everything, because that means that Sherrill Levitt knew something was up. That means these girls left the party separately with separate people. Okay, now that opens the door for a whole bunch of scenarios that could happen. And then do we believe the George sighting? Because then they're happy after the fact, possibly 3 to 4 a.m. and they're happy. But theoretically, that could happen, because then if they went back to the house and something happened to them at the house at between 3 and 4, so the green van sighting could still be legit at 6:30.
Well, yeah, but what if one of them was in on it? What if they were in on it?
Wait, what are you talking about?
Like, one
of the girls?
Yes, what if one...
That is insane.
What if they were in on it, and she was trying to look happy, and she was trying to look like they came from a water park, because she was still trying to perpetrate...
You mean Janelle.
And she was still trying to perpetrate...
I thought you were saying, what if Stacy or...
No, I know, but I am, like, take this for all of them, too. What if one of them was in on it, and what if one of them set them up, unlock doors, open things, and then whatever happened, the killer or whoever didn't want to leave any witnesses, and so what was supposed to be 2 ended up being 3.
Wait, say that again. Maxwell, you following?
All right.
Not really, but...
How many disappeared?
3.
What if it was supposed to be 2 disappeared, and one of them was in on it?
So...
and then whoever kidnapped them and killed them decided
terrible.
Not to leave
so
a witness.
Wow, this is
and
horrible.
2 turned into 3. Because think about that. Then you could have unlocked doors. You could have people knowing where they're gonna be. You could have fake stories being put out.
So hold on a second. Who could it have been? Because if Suzy was the nervous one, she knew something was up. Now Stacy's supposedly this super nice girl that wasn't even that close friends with her, that just decided to stay at her house and be a good friend.
Okay, so it's the mom and the daughter and the friend.
Yes.
I don't think that it would be a mom giving up her daughter, and I don't think it would be a daughter giving up the mom.
So you really think...
No, but what if?
Nice Stacy...
Yeah, but not on film. We were talking about people who were supposedly nice and might not have been. What if it was a front to throw people off, because everybody's going to say, oh, the nice one wouldn't have done it. Oh, wouldn't she?
That might be the most out there theory out of all of them in this case, because it seems completely unbelievable.
And leave no witness behind.
Maxwell, you care to chime in on that one?
No.
Well, because
that's terrible.
Yeah, but
that's like saying it was one of Maura's sisters.
Oh my God.
The one from the CIA who seemed nonplussed when they were interviewing her. But anyway. But think about it. When you run out of options because there's too many variables and things don't make sense.
The grave robbers don't want her testifying. Who else is there? They can't have a witness. Of course they're going to take Stacy too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what would be her motivation? Like, what if she knew one of them? What if she wanted money? What if they promised something? What if, because think about it.
Okay, how does that explain? Oh, okay, so you're saying Janelle Kirby is in on it.
Well, I'm just saying if it makes no sense, what is because I don't have it memorized, but what's that statement where when you try everything that makes sense, try something that doesn't make sense?
I believe, was that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle who said, when you've eliminated all of the possibilities, whatever remains is most likely to be true, no matter how extraordinary or whatever?
So think about it. If we've run out of options, we have to look at something off the wall, because it doesn't make sense that someone could take all 3 so easily and have no sign. But if one of the 3 was in on it, that would make it a lot easier.
It's kind of difficult to know for certain.
Well, of course.
That everything's been eliminated. Yeah. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the only reason why I said that, because we're having trouble.
What about alien abduction?
Yeah, well, but that fits along the same storyline, because we're having trouble figuring out how can 3 disappear, and if one of them was helping that would free up a lot of shit.
A little more, I can go.
That's why I throw out these improbable hypotheticals, because how else we've run up against a dead end. So giving something improbable might help us.
Well, in the first episode, we were looking at Cox because he might have been working as a utility worker on that street, and he might have seen Stacy at the deal. Like, what are the chances he works both at the dealership and as a utility? I mean, that's just rough. That's rough. And we didn't even get to the gangs and the police discrepancies. And there's actually other serial killer suspects, which we will get to in the next episode.
Because think about it. Whenever you have somebody on the inside, it makes everything so much easier. And it makes it... When you have a man on the inside, everything's easier. And it makes it harder to solve because people don't know you have somebody on the inside.
Yeah, if they were older, I would say that was more likely to be, they're like, we're talking about 18, 19-year-olds here. It's rough. It's rough.
Well, yeah, but kidnapping 2 girls is easier than kidnapping 3 girls.
Yes, one of which is an adult woman.
So if one is walking of her own accord, and then you don't kill her until after, like she thinks that.
And just real quick, I want to go over the purses being lined up.
Right.
The adults that came into the house, could they have lined them up looking for clues, trying to find out what happened? Because would the perpetrators really have lined them? It's just so, they probably would have taken them with. I mean, it's so nonsensical. It seems weird. Maybe they lined them up and didn't want to say, or maybe they did say and the cops do know. And one more thing about the prank calls. The following December, I believe, somebody was arrested. I don't know if they were named, for pranking everybody for like a year. So that muddles the water because I still think the grave robbers might have made, you know what's weird? If they did call them, but then the prank caller also called them. But here's the bizarre part we didn't talk about. Wait, what did you just say?
Well, the utility, we didn't even go over. I know
we did go over. Like, that's just bizarre.
This time, yeah, I know.
And
but
he had just moved to the area, 2 weeks prior or whatever. How crazy! It's not like he even had time. It's not like he even had time to set up all these. He just got to the area.
Well, I'm saying we should have explored it a little bit more this time, but
and that might be a rumor that he was working on their street.
Yeah.
Or it might not be. It's hard to corroborate stuff.
Yeah, but what if?
Here's what I was going to say.
Somebody called them.
Do you think it's a coincidence that when Janelle came back to the house at 3 p.m., they get the phone call, or is someone watching the house and saw her walk in, and that's why they called at that time?
And where did she come from?
We don't know. Apparently, they were scavenging the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then they went to.
What if she had been with the person who called and told them, all right, give me 5 minutes to get back to the house,
that's terrible.
And then call, because we don't know where she came
seemed
from.
To be okay. How good of an actress is she? Because she seemed to be very distressed by the calls.
Well, but all seems like.
And then, of course, remember the neighbor that's a judge, that there was some kind of case going on.
But it seems like all these crazy women are tremendous actors.
Yeah, but hold on. But remember, the neighbor is like a judge.
Yeah.
And they could have been going for his daughter or whatever.
Yeah.
And if he's the neighbor, somebody could be watching his house. Oh, look, they walk into that house. Oh, let's call and screw with them. Isn't it? Do you think it's a coincidence that they called when she walked into the house? She walked into the house about, I think, 3 times that day. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems strange, don't you think?
Well, the whole thing's strange.
Yes. So, thank you for joining us for another episode of Mindshock True Crime. This case is very, very deep. We'll be doing a number of more episodes on it because there is so much more to discuss that we didn't get to it. Many of it bizarre. But if you like these,
I'm going to find an insider. Somebody's an insider.
But if you like our podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. This is Bruce McGuire.
Brooke Davis.
And Maxwell Powers.
Have a good night.